I don't think most of you are actually behind. I think a decent chunk of you guys just need a reason to explain why you haven't started that thing yet. The thing that you've been putting off for the whole year, the thing that's been nagging at you in the back of your mind. What's going on, everybody? It's not a penguin. And today, I want to get into a little bit of a different topic. And I actually want to back that claim up I just said a few seconds ago, because I think it explains a lot about why everyone online feels like they're losing at life right now. And I think a lot of people feel behind right now for one simple reason. We're comparing the beginning or middle of our lives to somebody else's finished product. And the internet has made that comparison almost impossible to escape. So in this video, I want to talk about why being a beginner feels so embarrassing now, why normal progress suddenly feels like a failure, and why you might be doing way better than what your feed is making you think. And I'll start this off with a small confession. There are things I am straight up bad at, and I will not admit that out loud. Never, ever. Not even to another human being. Just because saying I'm not good at this to someone feels like I'm just telling them, hey, I actually might have a mental disability. Can you help me out real quick? And something else that I've noticed lately, it almost feels embarrassing to admit when you're just not good at something. Like say you're new to the gym, or you just got a new job, or you're starting a new game, or whatever it may be. For some reason, saying, yeah, I'm still learning. I don't really know everything yet. You feel like you're admitting that you're a dumbass. You know what I mean? Which is insane when you actually think about it, because everybody on the planet, on the face of this earth, started at zero at some point. Everyone, every single person you looked up to once was once the worst version of themselves at the thing that they're known for, but nobody posts about that part online. I think part of the reason is that we've gotten way too used to seeing people after they've already figured everything out. They've gone through the nooks and the crannies, and they've put in that hard work. They put in that good old elbow grease into that. We see the guy that's been lifting for 10 years, the YouTuber that has 1 million subscribers, that business owner that's making crazy money. Or let's say you go onto TikTok and then you'll see some guy on there that's posting the perfect morning routine, showing you how he meditates and how he has the perfect breakfast they laid out the night before and somehow has 5 hours to get ready. Meanwhile, you're just trying to remember where you put your keys in the morning, because I swear I'll run around the house for 10 minutes just looking for those. And because we see the finished product all the time online, being a beginner starts to feel abnormal. Nobody shows you that little middle part, the transition from being a beginner to a novice, you know what I mean? You just get the highlight reel, which means your brain quietly starts treating the highlight reel like that's the baseline, like that's where you're supposed to be. Nobody really wants to be the person that's bad at something anymore. Nobody wants to look inexperienced. You want to look like a chud in front of everybody else. And this has changed from back in the day, because your comparison group used to be small on purpose, because that's just physically how information worked back then. You compared yourself to your friends, family, maybe your coworkers, maybe somebody down the street that had a nicer car than you. You would see him drive by and be like, oh shit, that's a nice car. That was the whole pool of people that you had to compete against, right? Like basically your town and your neighborhood. And now guess what? Your comparison group, everyone that you can see online, everyone that you can compare yourself to, it's everyone on earth. Every single person that has access to the internet can compare themselves to you, or you can compare yourself to them. Either way, if you want to, it's there. And I feel like a lot of us are, me included in that. The top 0.1%, curated, lit well, edited down to the single bit of the post. You're going to see the best of the best on here. And they're served to you at 2 a.m. while you're lying in bed. And that's not an accident. I promise you that. The content doesn't reach you because it's a representative. It reaches you because it performs. You'll interact with it. The algorithm knows you want to watch it, so it's going to feed it to you. And here's the part about all of that makes it so effective. Our brains are wired with something called negativity bias. I'm going to get back to the whole point of this video in a second. I want to preface all of this first, okay? Real quick. We register threats and losses way harder than we register wins and neutral stuff. That's just old survival training that's cooked into our brains, right? Pair that with social comparison nowadays, which is just a fancy way of saying humans have always measured themselves against the people around them, trying to figure out where they stand. Imagine a tribe or a village. You have the chief. He gets all the respect. And when you put those two together and you scroll for an hour, you're not just casually browsing anymore. No. Your brain is looking for normal. It's looking for a threat, someone to measure yourself against while you're sitting there scrolling, right? And guess what? The algorithm is more than happy to serve that type of stuff to you. So you open your phone and immediately you see someone richer than you, stronger than you, better looking than you, more successful than you. And your brain doesn't process this post as, wow, this is a hand-selected 1 out of 8 billion people to be put in front of me. No. That's not what your brain thinks. It thinks, wow, here's what normal looks like, and I'm failing at it. And that's not personal failure of perspective. That's the intended output of the system showing it to you. You can have a decent job, your own place, friends, hobbies, be in pretty good shape, have money saved up, and somehow the feed can still convince you that your life is painfully mediocre. And I think one of the biggest places you see this is within work, because having a normal job used to be normal. You know what I mean? You went to work, made your money, paid your bills, and hopefully had enough left over to do the stuff that you enjoyed. That used to be the goal. That was the winning condition. Now you get online and suddenly everyone working a normal job feels like you're just doing life wrong. Everyone online with a hustle culture is just telling you that the 9 to 5 is a trap. You should start a business, that you need 5 sources of income, that if you aren't making 6 figures by 25, that you're just a failure in life. Move back in with your parents, live in a basement, just be done, bro. Which I have to give some credit to them for that, because nowadays shit is just expensive no matter where you go. So honestly, making a little bit more money probably wouldn't be that bad of an idea. But here's the part that gets left out of all of those videos. A lot of people telling you this make their money by telling you that. The quit your 9 to 5 advice is the business. You're not the audience, you are the product. If you actually want to check whether a career move makes sense, ignore the guy on your screen completely and ask one boring question instead. Does this get me closer to something I actually want on a timeline I can live with? That's it. Not, am I behind? Just, does the math work for me specifically? Most hustle content can't survive contact with that question. And like I was saying a minute ago, ambition is great. Making extra money in this economy is probably a good idea. I'm saying don't confuse the highlight reel for the starting line. There's a huge difference between being ambitious and being made to feel embarrassed because your life is not exceptional. Some people have a good job, make decent money, go home, play video games, see their friends on the weekend, and are perfectly content with that life. And if that sounds boring to somebody online, who cares? Not everybody needs to turn their life into a Fortune 500 company. And another place this shows up hard is fitness. Because if you spend enough time watching fitness content, you can start to forget what the normal or most average person actually looks like. You'll see some guy who's 6'2", 230 pounds, shredded, vascular as hell, and the comments will be like, mid-physique. Like, brother, that's a refrigerator with abs, bro. That man could pose next to a Greek statue and the statue would feel insecure. And then another normal person goes to the gym for 6 months, makes good progress, gets stronger, feels healthier. But instead of being proud of that, they look online and think, man, I'm doing terrible. I'm not doing as good as these guys, which is one of the worst ways to compare yourself in the gym. You're taking a snapshot of your day 180 and holding it up against someone else's day 1000 and then wondering why yours looks worse. Of course it does. That's not a fair fight. My actual recommendation to you to track your own progress if you are going to the gym, take photos 2 weeks apart at minimum, preferably a month apart. Same lighting, same pose if you can manage it, and then compare those side by side. Not you versus a stranger on the internet, you versus you. 2 weeks ago, a month ago, whatever it may be. That will show you exactly how much you've changed, because progress is almost invisible day to day and completely obvious month to month. The problem is the internet makes it really easy to forget that, because no matter what you're doing, there's always somebody doing it at an insane level. And I'm sorry, I feel like I've been rambling and jumping around a little bit in this video. I apologize for that, but somehow we've even managed to turn these hobbies into another way to feel behind too. Like even the things you used to come home and enjoy and relax, like you can't just read a book anymore. Now somebody online has read 70 this year and tracks everything in a spreadsheet, and you're just like, damn, am I behind on that too? You can't just go to the gym. You need the perfect split, perfect diet. And you can't just play a game anymore because it's fun. You need to know the meta, grind ranked, and eventually get screamed at by 14-year-olds on a microphone while you're just trying to relax. And if you actually get good at your hobby, then apparently it needs to become a business too. Photography, start charging people. If you're good at gaming, start streaming. You like talking about random things like me, start a YouTube channel, which to be fair, I did walk directly into that one, but it was also because I was hella bored and had nothing to do at my house. But that's kind of my point. Not everything you enjoy needs to come from another scoreboard. You're allowed to be completely average at something and still love doing it. You're allowed to go to the gym without looking like a bodybuilder. You're allowed to read 12 books instead of 50 or even one. I don't care. You're allowed to play a game and just absolutely suck at it. But if you're having a good time, who the hell cares? Starting becomes way harder. It seems like a mountain you have to climb, because now you're not thinking, I should probably go to the gym. You're thinking about that guy you've been watching online. He's been lifting for 12 years and is just an absolute monster at what he does. And compared to him, yeah, you are behind. But that's a completely useless comparison. And this is where I want to come back to what I said at the beginning. I don't think most of you guys are actually behind. I think sometimes we use being behind as an explanation for why we haven't started something yet. Because if you convince yourself everybody else is already miles ahead, then starting before you even begin starts to feel more reasonable. What's the point of investing? Everyone else got in before me and the market's way up. What's the point of going to the gym? I'm already out of shape, That's the trap. The internet can absolutely make that feeling worse. You're constantly being shown people who are richer, stronger, or just further along than what you are. But eventually, you still have to decide what you're going to do with that information. Because the algorithm might show you the competitive bodybuilder. It isn't physically stopping you from going on a 20-minute walk or going to the gym yourself. It might show you the 22-year-old millionaire, but it isn't stopping you from putting $50 into an investment account. It might show you someone that's been doing your dream job for 10 years, and it isn't stopping you from chasing that for the next 6 months. And that's really the whole point of this video, I guess. You're allowed to be new. You're allowed to suck for a while. You're allowed to have hobbies you're not trying to monetize. You're allowed to have a normal life that doesn't look impressive on somebody else's screen. There will always be somebody further ahead of you. And if you are on top, there's always someone right on your tail. The competition never ends. So I'm not saying to stop entering it, just stop comparing yourself while you're in it. And I want you to do that one thing that you've been avoiding, whether it be the gym, reading, going out for walks, I don't know, whatever it may be. Maybe get something at work or maybe in your relationship life. I don't know. I just want you to go and try it for this 1 week, one time this week. Go out, do something, and let me know how it goes. I just want to see you succeed. You don't need to catch up to everyone else that's already doing the hobby that you like. Just be content with where you are. You just need to start. Anyway, that's my ramble for today, and that's it. And if you got something out of this, let me know down in the comments. And please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Alô, galera! Vocês estão prontos?